Hello and welcome back to British English with me, Ali. In today's lesson, I'm going to talk to you about cooking in English. However, it's not just going to be talking about cooking, but actually making one of my family's favourite dishes, and this is a beef bourguignon. Talking about cooking in English can be really complicated. Boiling, broiling, grilling, deep fat frying, shallow frying, dry frying. There are so many ways to explain how we cook. So I hope that this lesson is helpful to anyone who's interested in cooking or even interested in learning how to make a very simple beef bourguignon. Let's get started and head to the kitchen. Okay, so welcome to the kitchen. I have here all of the ingredients that I need to make the beef bourguignon, and I also have some condiments to help flavour the ingredients. I'll talk you through things step by step. I will say that I'm not particularly someone who measures things extremely carefully. I tend to just go with my feeling and what seems like the right thing to do. So I'm sorry I don't have a very strict or clear-cut description of how to make this, but if you're going to give this a go yourself, I encourage you to enjoy and play with the ideas. So firstly, we have some pre-cut beef, already cut. We have mushrooms, carrot, onion, potatoes, and some fresh tomatoes. We also have a can of tomatoes and some soy sauce. We have some goma oil, sesame oil, and something that's actually for sushi, so we're not going to use that one. Anyway, going back to it, some pepper. Pepper is a must. This is just something that's in most of my family's dishes. I also have some Italian mixed herbs, which I'll put in there at some point, and some balsamic glaze. Now, this, strictly speaking, isn't necessary, but I feel it adds a sort of sweetness, so I'm going to throw that in there. But again, this is because I'm very loose with the way that I cook. So first of all, before I put on the heat, I'm going to start with slicing my vegetables. So I'm going to do just half of an onion, and this onion I'm going to dice. Now, dice actually means to chop into cubes, basically. So we're going to dice it. Doesn't have to be exact. So it's sort of just in rough cubes there. So that's my onion done. Now I'm going to give these potatoes a little rinse and chop them up roughly as well. I'm just going to do slightly chunky pieces around that size. Again, not measuring anything. Now with the carrot, I'm going to just slice it into rounds. You can dice it in just the same way as the onion, but I'm going to slice it into round shapes because I don't know, I feel it adds something interesting, the fact that it's a different shape. But you do as you please. Okay, now I'm going to put on the heat and throw in some of the sesame oil. You can use any kind of oil, but since living in Japan, I've become a massive fan of sesame oil, so that's the one I have. Layer the pan. So put a layer of oil into the pan. You don't want it to be overflowing with greasiness. You want it to just layer the pan so that things don't stick and burn. The trick with making such a dish taste good is that it cooks for a long time on a low heat. So if you're thinking of making this dish, do give yourself 3 or 4 hours actually to really get the flavors mixed and delicious. So basically I'm going to pop all of these in there just like that, trying not to burn myself. I'm giving it a little mix like that so that the oil can somewhat coat all of the vegetables. I don't want some things to be burnt and other things to be overly greasy, so I'm just mixing it like that. And at this beginning stage, I am actually going to add some soy sauce and pepper because I want the flavors to marinate. In actual fact, I am not a meat eater. I am not a vegetarian because a vegetarian doesn't eat meat or fish. I'm a pescatarian. I eat fish and I enjoy cheese and other animal products. So I just prefer to not eat meat. But back in my meat eating days, I absolutely loved this dish and it was enjoyed many, many times. Okay, those have softened slightly and the potatoes are slightly more cooked. And now I'm going to add some of this tomato puree. Sorry, I'm not a good multitasker. If I'm opening a can of tomato puree, I can't talk at the same time, so bear with me. This tomato puree and the balsamic glaze will go in together to add that kind of sweetness from the tomato. Just cook them a little bit more. Whilst we're waiting for those, I'm going to just get these cherry tomatoes and grab maybe 4. That seems like a nice amount. These are mainly just for the texture. So I'm going to cut them into quarters, slice them. Again, they don't have to be perfect. But these are particularly juicy and sweet, so I think it will be nice mixed in with everything else. I wonder, what is your go-to recipe? Do you enjoy cooking? And if so, what do you like to cook? What's the kind of special dish that you enjoy making for guests or friends or family members when you're in a gathering? Please do let me know. It's smelling very delicious, I must say. I think now they seem like they're at the texture where I can add the tomato puree. I'm going to add roughly half a can and see how that goes. I may add some more a bit later, but for now that's that. And I'll add some mixed herbs. I love the smell of these. It really does enhance the flavour of most dishes, I will say. Okay, first let me pop the rest of these ingredients in as well. Does anyone have any food preferences? For example, are you vegan or vegetarian, pescatarian like me? Or do you have any allergies? Are you gluten-free or soy-free? There are many, many types of food preferences, especially in my country, I would say, compared to Japan. I noticed that people in Japan seem to be much more flexible in terms of what they eat, or even allergies and intolerances to food. But in my country, it's quite standard now to have some kind of food preference or way of eating. I think beef bourguignon is a fantastic dish when you're not in a rush and you can cook quite leisurely, take your time, play some nice music and indulge in a glass of wine as you cook. You can add red wine to the beef bourguignon, but today I decided against it. I'm going to stick with our good old friend tomato puree, and talking of which, I'm going to add a little bit more here. In fact, I'm just going to add it all. Okay. I would say that with pepper and with Italian herbs, it really doesn't matter if you put a little too much or not enough in. So I like to keep these things out and add them, you know, based on the appearance of the dish that I'm cooking. Okay, this is looking really great. Everything's nice and soft, marinating in this tomato juicy goodness. And I think it's time for us to add the beef itself. I've put the pan at the lowest heat possible. So it's just simply going to just absorb that delicious juice and hopefully taste nice. And now we wait. This is such a handy meal to prepare. I personally will keep coming back to it every so often just to check how it's doing and perhaps stir the meat in just to really absorb the juices of the dish. It's quite a simple dish. It's, as you saw, quite easy to make, and hopefully it will be very delicious. So let's come back to it in 3 or 4 hours time and see how it looks. Well, thank you so much for joining today's cooking session. I hope that you learned some new words and the conversation helped you to feel a bit more confident talking about cooking in English. Please do leave a comment below letting me know what dish you most like to cook, as well as any comments about the dish that I made and anything that you want to see on this channel. I'd be happy to help. Thank you so much, and until next time, bye-bye.